that gives accreditation to the program that includes your engineering, management, and other programs. The third is presently has come as the NIRF. And you must have seen today's newspaper that NIRF has also declared its result, and that is purely based on the information which is supplied by the various institutions. I am not aware how many of our institution has gone for ranking in the NIRF. Whereas in the NIRF, our university ranking was very low last year, and that only is based on the factual data which you supply to them through the online. And we have seen in the NIRF also that the institutions which are graded at the higher points or are having higher grades in the NAAC, means A++, A+, or A, they also figure in the NIRF at the top places. And the other institutions where the ranking is lesser in the NAAC accreditation, they figure at the lower positions. Meaning thereby that whatever the parameters have been designed and dwelt by the NAAC for making an accreditation of the institution, that has the direct relationship with the NIR. Means there also grading which is being taken by the ranking that takes into consideration some of the parameters which are available for the accreditation of the institution by NAAC while going for the purpose of our grading. Then second thing is NIRF and NBA. NBA is basically for professional courses, like if any of the institution is having NBA, that is to go for the NBA also. The NAAC grading has now been linked with the finances which are being given by the agencies, that is central government, Ministry of Education, through the UGC to the various institutions. You must have seen when the choice-based credit system under RUSA was implemented in our state or in the other states, at first stage, when it was a beginning in 2013, the funds were dispersed to various institutions without seeing whether they are being accredited by the NAAC or not. When the second stage came for the RUSA also, then they put up a rider that if any institution is not having any grade under the NAAC system, we will not be giving any grant to him. Secondly, if the grade of the institution A or above, means A+ or A++, then we will be giving to each college 4 crore rupee. And those who are having between B and A, means B minimum and then up to A, that is 3.00. So we will be giving 2 crore. And if any institution is having C grade, they debarred those institutions for giving grants to the concerned institution. And if you, all of you know, since you are in the teaching fraternity, now with the induction of the new education policy as well as the letter issued by the UGC through the Ministry of Education, central government, they have clearly mentioned that all the educational institutions in India, higher educational institutions in India, must have the accreditation from NAAC. number one. And second is that any institution which does not have the grade of 2.5, means B grade, with 2.5 as a score and above, will not get any grant, and that will be applicable from 1st July 2022. In light of this, if we see to the total scenario of our state, now we have 130 colleges in our state, 132 colleges in our state, out of which some of the colleges were newly opened. They were not fulfilling the requisite time period. Some of the colleges are fulfilling the requisite time period, but they are not coming forward for the accreditation for the one reason or the other reason. And third is the institutions which have gone for the first cycle are not entering into the second cycle. And the time period is being elapsed in between, because all of us are aware that initially the accreditation is for 5 years. And in case of extraordinary circumstances like these days, when the pandemic has come to India, then it is extended by 1 year. Otherwise, before the completion of your tenure for the first cycle, before that 6 months prior, you have to start the total process, and within 6 months you have to go in for the accreditation. Otherwise, what happens in the NAAC, that your name is being dropped from that grade, whatever the grade you were having previously, then your institution is shown without any grade in the NAAC website, on the NAAC website, and it is a continuous process. The third thing is, now they have gone for, if any institution is having continuously for the 3 times A grade, then in the 4th cycle, when their accreditation will take place, that will not be for 5 years, that will be for 7. In view of this, there was a system. Out of you, I think only one college has gone previously, Daulatpur Chowk College, is the colleges which are participating here, is to go in for another cycle. And rest of the colleges are either new or they have not entered into the first cycle. So friends, it is now mandatory, if you don't participate in the accreditation process, then ultimately it will affect your grants. State government has its limited resources. They are giving pay to the institution, faculty, non-teaching staff. And that's the reason the educational institutions throughout the country started these self-financing courses in order to generate money, in order to generate funds through those courses and look after the well-being of the institute. In the light of this, we had a discussion, I had a discussion at the top, and we thought that sometimes when the faculty members or the principals are not going ahead for such process, there can be a reason that they are falling short of certain shortcomings are there, number one. Number two is that we must aware them with the process which takes place in the NAAC. And even after, if we are to go in for accreditation after 1 year or 2 years, if our records, etc., are not there, or certain facilities are not existing in the institution, then they must understand what is to be done, what is the system of the accreditation, And in this process, we have covered at least 70 to 75 institutes. And this is the second last, and I think with one more webinar, we will be able to complete all the institutions. And we hope that whatever the information we will be providing to you, that will be of immense use. The colleges, because the process of the NAAC prior to 2018 was based on the single party. I'll explain how. The institution was asked to write their report in the specified format under different criteria that was being submitted to the NAAC. It was evaluated by their experts, and then a team was sent to the institution to validate what you have written or to verify that what you have written in that context. And thereafter, the peer team itself was evaluating the institution and was giving the grades. And there was no chance for the institution to evaluate themselves. Whereas on the international standards, if we look into the international standards of the accreditation or of the ranking, there's a system. Even in the National Board of Accreditation, the system is such where institute itself can evaluate that what is their standing under different parameters and can come to a conclusion that what accreditation grade I can expect when we go in for the total process of the assessment and accreditation. And there were certain management, means you can say manipulations also, and the institutions were getting the grades. At certain places, it was unearthed that an institution having nothing with them were being placed in the B grade, B+, B++, or even at certain points, A grade also. By seeing everything, then keeping in view the national, international standards, it was decided by the NAAC that we overhaul or revamp our process, in which not a single party evaluation will be there, or validation, verification, and granting of the grade will be there. From 2018 March, the new process has come up, and some of our institutions have gone in the state also, passed through that process. And I have seen that our colleges which were having high score under the old system, they have got the less score in this system. And some of the colleges which have gone afresh, they have got the C grade. With this intention, I am with you now to explain that what we are to do to get the good grade. Sometimes what is there, we have everything. What we are unable to fit it into the system. And when the evaluation takes place, ultimately that result into the lesser side of the grade. Or secondly, sometimes we don't have anything and we are doing something, but we don't record it. We don't keep it into document. We don't convert it into the documentation. In view of that also, sometimes we are unable to get the Good. For this, we are to understand now what is this system. The one thing is, which was in the previous system also and in this system also, that every year, those which are new institutions, I just want to tell them that if you have completed 6 years or 2 batches have passed out, then you are eligible to be enter into the process of assessment and accreditation. Number one. Since ours are the colleges, graduate colleges, and post-graduation courses are also run in the undergraduate colleges somewhere. So that condition of the 2 batches do not apply to us. We are to, because our 2 batches will also pass out after 6 years. Some people say that we are not under 2F and 12 of the UGC Act. So I want to clarify to the new institution, there's no binding on from the NAAC side that you must be under 2F and 12. The only distinction is that if your institution is under 2F and 12P, whatever the fee, etc., you will be paying for your assessment and accreditation, that will be refunded by the NAAC whenever the funds from the government of India. And if you are not under 2F and 12P, your money will not be refunded. That is the only difference. Second thing is that people say that we don't have our own buildings. Own buildings also are not related to your accreditation. That will have an impact on your grading. But you will not be debarred if you are running your college in a rented premises or in certain other premises. The only thing is that we are to enter into this process only if we have sufficient place, sufficient space for accommodating the students which are studying in that particular institution. So there cannot be any excuse that we don't have our own building, so we cannot enter into this process. Only you assess for, this is for the new colleges, that if you have the sufficient space for the students' accommodation, for all the classes which are being run by your institution, whether it is your own building, rented building, leased building, or any other premises which is given by the government to you, you can enter into the process. Every year, you are to go in for filing the annual quality assessment report, AQAR, which we call, and continuously for 5 years the AQAR is to be filled. The reason is that whenever the accreditation takes place, prior to that year, 5-year data is required. You can fill up that AQAR in the one go also. NAAC gives the exemption for that. But it is always better that each year we prepare the AQAR and submit it to the NAAC. The reason for it is that when we are to fill up the AQAR, we must have the record to that effect. So if any record is missing, we have not documented it, then you can have the documentation of that record, which will give benefits to your institution when the accreditation, you will be starting with the accreditation process. Because after 5 years or 6 years, it is not possible to reincorporate develop the record. But if it is a shorter period, then Obviously, you can have that document, you can even regenerate those documents and can put up in the file or can keep in your record, on the basis of which you have to file the AQAR. That is very important. Whether you have to go in for the first assessment, second assessment, third assessment, fourth assessment, AQAR is mandatory by the NAAC, which must be submitted. Presently, for this year, NAAC has extended the date up to 31st August to submit the AQAR. This is the first thing. Then the second thing is that when we are due for our accreditation, whether it is first accreditation, second accreditation, or third accreditation, or subsequent accreditation, means re-accreditations, the process remains similar for all, with slight variation. If we are entering into the first accreditation, number one, the importance of internal quality assurance cell, IQAC, which we call in the shorter form, or system, internal quality assurance system, that may be activated or not. It will never impact your grading. Sometimes the new colleges say that we have just, last year we have gone for composition of the IQAC. No problem. If it is a new college or you are going for the first accreditation, because there the laxity is that the role of IQAC is much more when we are entering into the re-accreditation, second, third, or consequent cycles. That is number one. Second is that we are to go in for, because now it is a 3-tier system of the accreditation. We have having 3 steps. The first step is to submit a format which is termed to be the internal institutional information for quality assessment, which we call as IIQA. That is the first step. When we are to go in for the assessment, we are to enter into the process of assessment. On the website of the NAAC, there's a format for the institutional information for quality assessment. You are to fill up that format and submit it online, because now the total system is online. No print is to be taken, nothing is to be there, nothing is to be sent to the NAAC. You can submit it online, just fill it up and submit it to the NAAC. NAAC will assess that IIQ, and within 30 days, they will go in for specifying or replying to you online whether your IIQA is accepted or not. There's an option with the NAAC also that if certain particulars which are there in the IIQA are not submitted or not answered properly, or they don't convey any sense, meaning, then they will raise certain objections and will reject your IIQA. The fee along with the IIQA is 25,000 plus 18% GST, which is to be submitted by the institution. And if it is returned back to you, if it is not accepted by them, if it is accepted, we will enter into the second process, second step. If it is not accepted, then they give you 2 more chances to resubmit that IIQA by removing the objections which they have put forth, because outrightly they don't have any guidelines to reject it. That it is not on my whims or their whims. It is on the basis of certain facts and figures which are to be taken as the observations, then they will reject it. And institution is to submit that back within 6 months from the date of receipt of it. Again, they can go in for rejection with certain more observations, but observations should not vary from first type of observation in the second time. They can raise an objection at the first place when you file application for the first time. All the objections are to be raised. You are to reply to it. If you reply in such a manner that they are satisfied, they will accept it. If they are not satisfied with that information which you have submitted to them, then they will again reject it second time. And that is also to be submitted within 1 year. Total period for these 3 applications is 1 year. If 1 year has passed, then that money will be forfeited by the NAAC. It will not be refunded, or it will not be taken ahead. It will be forfeited, and then after 6 months you can go afresh. Otherwise you cannot go without IIQ. This is the first step. Then the second, because IIQA information is also based on your AQAR. So if your AQAR is up to the mark, then IIQA will also be up to the mark. Then the second step is submission of the self-study report. Self-study report is nothing. It is just the answering of questions in a specific format which NAAC has developed. And after acceptance of the IIQA, you are to upload it online on the portal of the higher educational institution. There will be a portal of the HEI, and on that, within 30 days, with a maximum grace of 15 days on certain conditions only, you are to submit it. If you fail to submit it, then your total process will be halted, and the fee which you have submitted along with the IIQA plus SSR, if you have not submitted anything, then that will be forfeited, and after that you cannot enter into the process for 1 year. Thereafter only again you can go in for this. Now, meaning thereby that our SSR must be ready when we file the IIQA, when we submit the IIQA, minimum to 90 and 95%. Because 1 month is a very lesser time in which we cannot, or it is not possible to do all the work which is required in the SSR. This SSR is also termed as the SAR. SSR means self-study report. We call it as the SAR means self-assessment report, or we call it as the SER, self-evaluation report. Now the system is such that when you will be preparing the SSR, you yourself can evaluate it. There is a method for this purpose. And in order to evaluate and to fill up this SSR or to prepare this SSR, now we are to understand what is included. If it is a new college, they have not gone for any accreditation. If it is an old college, they have gone for 1 accreditation or 2 accreditations. There are certain parameters which has been identified, or which we call as the criteria, which are identified by the NAAC, and the total our self-study report is based on these parameters. total 7 parameters are there, which are being segregated on the basis of activities which takes place in the business, in the institutions, and the requirements of the institution. Any higher educational institution is based on the students, faculty, infrastructure, and research to a certain extent, governance of the institution, curriculum, and certain other practices. These are the broader criteria. And then money is also there, finances are also involved in it. On these basis, when we start any higher educational institution or any board, the first thing is that we need curriculum. Without any syllabus or curriculum, we cannot start any institution if we are going for the teaching institution. Second is, we require teaching faculty. We require the process in which the faculty will teach, quality of the teachers, and other things. Then we require infrastructure. If there are no classrooms, there's no building, nothing, then where the students will go, where they will be taught, where the teachers will go. So infrastructure is also required. Then we have the new concept added to this evaluation, which is done. Previously it was not there. Now we have in the accreditation assessment process, the new concept of student satisfaction. Because quality is to be measured. This total process is for assessing the quality of an institution, and all the stakeholders which are concerned with that higher education institution, they are taken into consideration while drafting this now, the new system. So we require the students' participation, overall their development. We need the satisfaction of the students, and in this system, student satisfaction survey has been added so that an institution can submit the list and the NAAC itself will have a survey of the students directly. Institution will not be involved in that survey. That is an independent. Now, in this, now I am coming for one by one. Since it is a total online system, which is to be assessed by the third party, number one, NAAC is basically now we call it as a, in the simple words, we can call it as a post box. NAAC will coordinate everything, but the assessment will be carried. They have given the criteria, they have dwelt them, and is available on their website. You can go through with it. Your institution will not directly interact with anyone. It will be through NAAC. And total criteria, 7 criteria, we have 31 indicators for the colleges. Indicators means, key indicators means if we are taking into consideration, say, infrastructure, what is to be seen in the infrastructure? If we are taking into consideration the curriculum, what is required in the curriculum? If we are seeing into the research, what is required there, which is to be assessed. Now, we have 2 types of the things in any institution, or you can say in your homes also. One of the items are such which can be quantified. Everywhere we have two types of the items. One is which can be quantified. Second is which cannot directly be quantified since they are the qualitative in nature. Similarly, in the new process or in this system now, the total indicators are having the sub parts of it, and those parts are being divided or segregated into two portions, which is termed as the matrix. In the technical term, we call it as a matrix. And assignment of the matrix score is there available with their format. Quantitative is such which you can verify with the help of its supporting document. For example, say if you have 10 rooms, your building plan will tell it whether you have 10 classrooms or not, approved building plan. Or if you have a rented building, say, or certain other premises, so certificate will tell them. If you have 100 computers in your institution, how they will verify it? Along with the bill, you must have the bill for the 100 computers. You must have an entry of it into the stock register. So they will verify it. These types of the things are termed to be the quantitative. Teachers are there, if say 10 teachers are there, their appointment orders or their joining letters, they'll just give a validation or verification that there are 10 teachers in number. List may change. In 1 year, some other persons are there, then if they are transferred, since it is a government institution, some other might have joined. In 1 year, there can be 12, in the other year, there can be 10, or in the third year, there can be 14, but it can be verified from your documents. These are basically the quantitative metrics. Whereas qualitative metrics are such which cannot be supported by any document. You can have a document to that, but the validation cannot be made of that document with the software, since the software will only take care of the quantitative. So that is the second process. When we prepare the SSR, we are to take into consideration that quantitative metrics, which are around 70% in the total of 100%, whereas 30% are the qualitative metrics, which will be assessed or which will be converted into the quantification by the peer team. And if we calculate it exactly on the basis of metrics, it comes out to be 33.5, which are of qualitative, and 66.5% of the total is of quantitative. So your assessment will be based on two things. Quantitative will be assessed by the system, third party, it is outsourced, and they'll only validate through the vouchers, through the documents which you upload along with them. Whereas 30%, about 30% means 33.5%, for validation and verification of those metrics, the team will visit your institution and then they will convert it. They will be also giving the marking for it, which is on the 5-point scale, 0 to 4. And they are to specify it. They are not to see anything else in the institution. They will only be concentrating on the qualitative, and they will be specifying whether they are doing, if they are awarding you 0, then they are to write why. If they are awarding you 4, then why? Or in between, then means report has the value now. Previously, there was no value of that. And report will also not be on bullet points, which was previously. It will be a descriptive report. You have to write here. And once they also give the marks, that will also be submitted by the peer team through their portal to the NAAC. Ultimately, that will go to the system of the outside party, means third party, and within 2 minutes, the result is declared. This is the total process which takes place, and the total time period now is 6 months for this total process. Now you have to do one thing, which are the new colleges, or Daulatpur Chowk is also to go in for the reaccreditation. Start preparing the SSR, understand it. Now I am telling you, there are total 35 qualitative metrics. Total metrics are 93. 35 are the qualitative and 58 are the quantitative metrics. The first is the curricular aspect, under which, since colleges do not go in for development of any curriculum, so that is exempted for them. But colleges implement that curriculum. Affiliating university gives that curriculum to the colleges, and they implement that into their colleges. So curricular planning and implementation is taken care of by the colleges. Here, the quantitative nature metrics are, there are 3 qualitative metrics and 8 quantitative metrics. Now, what will be the quantitative metrics roughly, if we see? Because when the curriculum is prepared, then certain board of study do that one. If any of your teacher is there, that will count for the quantitative. If he is there nominated on the basis of seniority, whereas qualitative means here, and the appointment orders, etc., of those persons attending of the meeting, etc., are also to be uploaded. But when you are going for implementation of it, now there are 2 ways for its implementation. One is you give a syllabus to the teacher and ask him to go 5 days, 6 days, whatsoever are the number of working days, to the classroom, deliver a lecture, and come. But you have an option that you can plan that for 4 days there will be a teaching in the classroom, and for 1 day may be kept for the discussion, interaction, for seminar, presentation, etc. Now that is up to the institute. That is a plan to implement it. And if you are going to make such plan, it must be passed in your council meeting or teachers meeting, whatever is you are calling in the institute college, and it must be documented. There must be a proceeding of it, and the teachers must keep a teacher diary with them, that when they have gone for the presentation of the students, discussion of the students, and who participated. That will give you a record. That must be in the file, that these are our diaries in which you enter it, sign it. This is called as the qualitative, and on the basis of it, your conversion of the qualitative metrics will be on the 5-point scale. If you don't have any record, you may say anything, that we are doing this, we are doing this, we are doing this. You cannot satisfy without any document in your file to the peer team, because now they are to convert. Board of study member, 1 member, 2 members, 3 members, whatsoever are there, 1 meeting, 2 meetings for 3 years, 2 years, that will be validated by the system on seeing the appointment letter, their proceedings of the meeting, their names, etc., which are to be uploaded along with it, and they proceed. Then is your one very important here is the feedback system. Now, feedback system is comprised of 3-4 steps. Generally, in the higher educational institution or even in the universities, what we do, that we give a format to the students. This feedback is not only from the student, this is a feedback from other stakeholders. From the students, faculty is also a stakeholder over there. Then parents are also the stakeholders, and experts coming from outside are also the stakeholders of the institution. So you have to get the format for all these stakeholders, even alumni are also stakeholders, and get their feedback on different aspects wherever it is needed. If government has developed it, then it's all right. Otherwise, an institution is supposed to develop it. Now, after collection of that information, then you go in for analyzing it. Analysis is to be carried out, and analysis must be through certain statistical tool, not by adding that 3 persons have said this, 3 this, 3 this, 3 this. That is not an analysis. If you are going for the feedback system, your proper analysis must be. You have to find out the result of that analysis. Those who are PhD scholars or have done MPhil or have done certain projects, they all are aware of the analysis. Then after that, this is the second point. After that, you have to go in for implementation of that result. If certain action is required at the government level, say, on the basis of that feedback, you have to write to the government. If it is from the university, you have to write to the university. Whether they do it or not, it is immaterial. And if it is something is to be done by the principal, then principal must take care of it. Then you get full marks. Otherwise, if you don't do any feedback, 0. If one step is there, 1. If 2 steps are there, then 2. If total system is in practice, then 4. That is the maximum. So that you are to take into consideration. If you are not maintaining such records, then try to maintain these records right now. For the last year, you can, because it was a pandemic, online everything was there. So prior to that, you can build up the record. Otherwise, you will not be taken into consideration. It will not be taken into consideration. Then second is that teaching, learning, and evaluation. Your teaching and student enrollment is based on the admission. Admission in your colleges are, I think, based on the merits. No entrance test is there in the undergraduation. So enrollment and profile, that is concerned with your admission process. Then catering to student diversity. Do you have any plan for students to enter into the diversity process? Here also, this is there. Then teaching learning process. What is your teaching learning process? Whether you are making use of the ICT also, or you don't make the use of the ICT. That is the total process, because one of our processes just board and chalk and board. Second is our use of the ICT, and third is virtual mode, online mode, whatever we are seeing these days. That is also a process of the teaching. Then teacher profile and quality, since these are the government institutions and the recruitments are made by the government through service commission. So there will always be a quality, and profile means they will be eligible, all will be eligible. No person who is ineligible will be selected. Then is evaluation process and reforms. Since we have the choice-based credit system, and two processes are involved in it. One is the end term examinations. Now it is an annual system in our state, so end term examination is after a year. In between, whether you have developed in your college some continuous evaluation system or not. That is of qualitative nature. So you must keep a record of it, proceedings of the meeting, that this will be our system, because university gives the broader outline. That says seminar, attendance, then assignment. But under that, what your institution has developed as a process, that is to be taken into consideration. They are of qualitative nature. So for that, you need the supporting record, proceedings of the meeting and action taken on it, and the documents which will support that you have gone for assignment, their evaluation, your internal tests, their evaluation. So you have to show it. And then is student performance and learning outcomes. It is very, now in the new education policy is totally based on the outcome. It is an outcome based new education policy. And here also it is included, that is the student performance and learning outcomes. That whether the examination, whatever you have taught in the higher educational institution, that will be reflected by the performance of a student, and whether that has impacted his overall development or not. That is the student outcome, learning outcome. Means after doing something, if a person is, say, a commerce graduate, and after coming out from the graduation, means second year or final year, whether he has learned something, or again he will ask some outsider CA or advocate to file the return, income tax return or not. That is the learning outcome. So you have to take it into consideration that whenever your system is there, even if it is not included in your syllabi or anything else, you can bring some outsider to an institution or an expert who tells them how to go in for filing a return. Similarly, science students, similarly, art students. So we are to measure the learning outcome, whether they have gone for the higher studies, whether they have gone for the entrepreneurship, whether they have gone for the competitive examinations or certain other things. That is the learning outcome, basically. Then the last under this second criteria is student satisfaction survey, which I told you that only the list is to be submitted by the institution to this NAAC. NAAC will start your survey just when they start the data validation and verification process. After submission of your SSR, they'll send a questionnaire to the students, and there is a condition that the reply must be there from minimum 10% of the students or 100 in number, whichever is less, to the NAAC. If they don't reply, say if any college is having, say, 400 students, so 40 persons, 10%, students must respond to that. If you have more than 1,000 students, because maximum is 100. So if 1,200 students or 10% comes out to be 120, so maximum 100 bar will be there. If you are even 99 students, or in case of 40, 39 students respond to it, then ultimately it will not be taken for evaluation survey, and you will be awarded 0, and it has 60 metrics at a stage. So you try to inculcate something into the students that whenever they get a survey forum, they must respond to it. Because whether you get 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, that is afterwards. 1, 2, 3, 4. Otherwise, straightway, it will be a 0 out of 60. So try to be in the college to tell them what is the importance of student satisfaction survey and how it will benefit the institutions. It will upgrade the student institution to the higher grade, and then we can do. So try to, now onwards, you have to concentrate on it also, so that you can instill the value of this accreditation among the students. And all the students must be responding to this survey. Then the third one is research, innovation, and extension. Research and innovations are not primarily for the colleges, because some of the portion has been deleted out of it. Now only which has been there, that is your research publication, your seminars, your workshops attended by the teachers, etc. Certificates are to be uploaded along with it. But keep it in mind that the research publication will only be taken into consideration if they are in the InflibNet list of uses. Because InflibNet will do the validation of this. I saw in one of the colleges that they have given the list of 200 research papers, whereas ultimately only 10 papers were accepted for them. So try to see to that list, then only you file the information. Otherwise, there is no use. This is just wastage of time and junk you will be uploading. Otherwise, there will be no benefit of it. Then is extension activities of the students. All of us knows what type of the extension activities. One is student participation. There is a difference between the student participation and extension activities. Student participation is always in all type of the activities, whether it is cultural, whether it is sports, whether it is something like celebrating certain days, or in the administration also through the student participation through the council, student council. These days in Himachal, there is a nominated council, so they participate. But the extension activity is always through the various clubs, through the NCC, through NSS if you have the unit. So these are the extension activities, and take it into consideration that if you are having an NSS, try to adopt certain village. Not on count of that 7 days program, because that is compulsory, you get a money. You adopt certain nearby village for 6 months, and your volunteers can go there after 1 month or after 15 days for 1 day, 2 days, and make a report of it. That will give you upper hand for getting the marks. Then is your collaborations. Collaboration you can have with the other institutions which are neighboring to you, which are outside the state or inside the state also. But you must have the two-way MOUs for it. It should not be one way only, that you are signing, you are not taking advantage of them, their faculty or their other facilities which are available with them. So just signing a MOU does not entitle you to get the marks for this. Then is infrastructure and learning resources. This is basically the infrastructure is of two types, try to understand. Because it is, I saw in one of the colleges, they talked to me on telephone when they last time went for accreditation. Infrastructure is two types. One is the physical infrastructure. Second is the IT infrastructure. IT infrastructure includes your computers, then other ICT gadgets which are being fitted into the, or virtual gadgets by way of which virtual classrooms are being operated, gadgets in the smart classrooms, gadgets in the other classrooms, and computers, etc., terminals, printers. They are the IT infrastructure Whereas physical infrastructure means your building, classrooms, tutorial rooms, and other type like a store, etc., whatsoever it is, and then hostels if there is any. It is not a requirement of the hostels. But in this, we have certain qualitative metrics. In the qualitative, now computers can be verified from the bill or from the stock register, but whether those computers are working or not. You have the Wi-Fi connection, internet connectivity in your institution, whether that is working or not. Whether institution is Wi-Fi institution or it is having a LAN or it is through the broadband. That will be assessed, that is of qualitative nature, so the peer team will assess it. They will also see practically whether internet is working or not. If it works as per the payments which you have made, the bandwidths which you have taken, then it's all right. And write Wi-Fi only if your campus is Wi-Fi. If your campus is on the routers, say in one building some other password, in the second room other password, then don't write Wi-Fi. It is not a Wi-Fi, it is a broadband connection through modems or through routers. That will give you some marks. If you write Wi-Fi and Wi-Fi is not there, then there will be a 0. Then maintenance of the buildings, maintenance of the physical structure, and maintenance of the IT infrastructure. In this, you are to keep the documents. What is the process? Because in the government colleges, normally the buildings are being maintained. Some repairs can be undertaken by the colleges, otherwise I think PWD, there's a process through PWD, etc. So you have to pass it or you have to record it in your meetings that this is our process of maintenance of it. Or if maintenance, cleanliness, etc., you have outsourced the persons, then you have to record it, how you have outsourced, agreement of it, because that is of qualitative. That will be verified from there only. And then is your library. Sometimes we feel that if our library is small, then we may not get marks. Library size is not very important, because size is related to the number of students. If you have 2000 students, then it's all right. The size must be there, your reading room must be there. Or if these days we have the digital libraries. So try to, all the colleges, I will suggest those who don't have, try to have some software which can give access to the journal and books. Because new colleges, they cannot step ahead for the digitalization or automation of the colleges, automation of the library, whereas the old college can go in for the automation. But you must take it into consideration that by arranging funds, etc., you should put a software over there through which you can give access to the students and teachers regarding the e-books and e-journals. Then under this one is the rare books and manuscripts. If you have rare book is not to be a textbook number. It should be a rare book which is of other nature. Textbook can never be a rare book. Reason being, because your curriculum changes, other thing changes. Base book of any subject or anything can be a rare book. But textbook changes every year. Textbook changes after 2 years, 3 years. If certain author dies, you cannot claim that it is a rare. He stopped writing, or someone stopped publishing the book. That can be. Then second is the manuscript. And these types of the books are not required too much. Maybe 2, maybe 3. Manuscript is very difficult to have there. But out of this 2, If you have one rare book or two rare books, you will get total marks out of the 4, you can get 4. But if you keep textbooks there, fill up on the documents textbook, then the team will not verify it and they'll give you 0. Then next is fifth head is student support and progression, in which I'll tell you one very important thing, that now onward you keep a record. Number one, going for alumni. Those which are new colleges have gone for 4 years, 5 years, or 6 years. Their one or two batches might have passed out. They should also go for registration of the alumni and take their help, make them vibrant, make those alumni associations vibrant, because they are also to play a role in the accreditation. If unregistered is there, nothing is being there, then there will be a 0 out of this metric. Otherwise, you can have the marks over there. Student progression, student participation and activities. Generally, colleges, they get out of 4, they get 3, because sports events are there, cultural events are there, annual days are there, so they get it. Student progression, you have to make a record through the alumni association. You can do this work, that how many students have proceeded for higher study, how many students have gone for self-employment or for certain other activity. That is student progression. And they have the 50 metrics for the student participation, alumni 10, student progression 30, and student support 50. Now, in the student support, two types of the student support is there. One is by the government. If you are falling under different categories, then there is a process of giving scholarships to them. Their fee is refunded or certain scholarship is given to them. That is from the government. You can make a policy and in an institution, it must be recorded. You may be doing it. You can support them by giving books to the poor students who do not get scholarship. But try to have pass in it in the meeting and make a proceeding of the meeting, keep it in the record, and then in the end of the year you can have a meeting, then can take care of it, that we have given these much books. Teachers which complimentary copy come to them, they can distribute out of that to the poor students, or certain other way, financial support if you could, then. But whatever the support college or institution will give, that will go to the credit of the institution, that will give you good marks. Otherwise, government support is there for the category, so that will also be giving the marks for it, but they will be less in number. Then the sixth criteria is our governance, leadership, and management. Now, since these are the government colleges, so strategies are being made at the government level and you are made aware of it. But it will be much better if in an institution also you make a strategy, you make a plan, short term and long. Government plan is overall for all the institution, but some plan you have to make for your institution, which will depend on the geographical location, student intake into the college, that should we go in for opening certain further programs, what is the procedure for it, you make a plan for it and record. That will give you the marks, and leadership is also there, governance is also there. So this has the maximum quality indicators. And the last one, which is the last institutional values and best practices, that is in your hands, because out of 100 metrics, 73 metrics are for qualitative. All principals, those who have joined here, and faculty members, try to have 2 best practices for your institution. Number 1. And best practices can be same for all the institutions. There is no problem. And whatever the days you are celebrating, keep a record of it. They are all qualitative metrics. Then, if you have the rainwater harvesting system, then that system will get you full marks if you have the total system. If only pipes are there, no pit, nothing, then 1 mark. If some pit is there to collect that water, then 2 marks. If there is a provision for recycle it, then 4 marks for it. Sometimes principals or I was in one of the meetings of your colleges, one principal said that, sir, we have plenty of water, so we don't require. It is not the question whether you have plenty of water or not. This is a requirement. If you have this, you will get the marks. If you because if you say that our 24-hour water is available with us, then it will not make a sense. You must have a system whether you use it or not. And then one thing there is distinctiveness of an institute. And this distinctiveness is basically where people are confused. How your institution is different to the other institutions. Is there any system which you have developed in your institution and it makes you separate or it separates you from the other institutions of the nearby, of this district or of the state, and it cannot be same in all the institutions. And in the best practice, whatever best practice you will be finding out, that must have its impact, measurement of impact on the student or on the stakeholders, on the teacher. If say, we say that we ask our students to come in the dress, or we opt for one day, we go in for in the morning, some prayer, etc. So we are to see whether that practice has an impact on the student welfare, whether it is inculcating something among the students, then you will get the full marks. Otherwise, it will be less than full. And since 120 is there, I am to interact with you people also. And one thing more, that while going for the data validation and verification, there is a one pre-qualifier. Because in the quantitative metrics, you must get 25% of 70%. You can calculate it. If you don't get that score in the quantitative validation after validation score, then your process will be halted there and you will be informed that you are not eligible. If you qualify in that, that is termed to the pre-qualified, then you will be intimated, you will be asked to give the date for the peer team visit, and this date must be within 3 months. This is your total process. And one thing which I have left over here, while filling up your SSR, I told quantitative and qualitative metrics. Qualitative metrics cannot be opted out because there is a scheme in this system that you have been given liberty to opt out of certain metrics, which in your brain says that we don't have anything in this. But number 1, criteria 1 to 7, whether it is qualitative metrics or quantitative metrics, nothing can be opted out. Whether you fill or not, that will give you the negative result, because denominator will not decrease while finding out the grade. Then second is, in criteria 3, 4, 5, and 6, you can go in for opting out for this 3% of total weightage. Means 1000 is the total weightage. So out of that, you can opt out for 30 weightage matrix. But condition here is no qualitative matrix is to be opted out in 3, 4, 5, 6 options. And the quantitative matrix which you feel to opt out, that will have an impact that your denominator will go to 970, your grade will come out of 970. But there is a condition that out of this 4 criteria, only maximum to 10 score of the weightage can be opted out. Total is 30 and maximum 10 from each criteria. I give you one example that in criteria 6, there is a one matrix of quantitative nature which is of 15 weightage. So if you opt out of that, that will not be taken into consideration. 15, only 10 will be, but 10 is allowed. So you cannot opt out of that. Maximum 10 and from each criteria. So 4 criteria are there, no qualitative is there. That will have an impact. Your denominator will go to 970 and denominator cannot go beyond less than 970. It will be minimum 970, maximum 1000, and the grading will be done here. And there is a provision in this assessment now, it was not previously, that if you feel the score which we have got when you go in for the self-assessment, after that you get a result after year team visit, you can either file an appeal or you can go after 1 year, within 3 years for reassessment. Previously, this system was not there. Once you are getting the grade, that grade will go with you. Appeal was there, but that grade would have gone with you for 5 years. But here, after making certain corrective, taking certain corrective measures, you can go in for reassessment after completion of 1 year. As one of our institution is with C grade, that has 1 year has passed over there. They were having 1.97. So now we are going for reassessment of that institution. This is an added advantage in this. So I hope that whatever I wanted to convey, you must have been conveyed, and hope that all the institutions which are having these things, if you don't have these things, try to build up and try to go in for the accreditation so that our institutions become accredited and having minimum, we expect that our institution must get the B grade so that we can have the funding from the center also. So thank you very much for giving me or hearing me for 1 hour and 20 minutes. Now the organizer can take the mic, and if you have any clarifications or queries, I can answer them. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. It's been truly rewarding and enriching to listen to you expounding on various facets of NAAC, and in very simplified language, you have actually cracked many intricate issues related with preparation of NAAC reports, and you have touched upon all the criteria in very meticulous manner and made it understood in very easy language. Thank you for that. And the most important takeaway from this whole discussion to me appears that colleges who are going for NAAC accreditation must put in very robust system of data management, because eventually documents will come to your rescue while preparing the NAAC report, and the role of IQAC is very critical. Each college should have very well efficient IQAC in place, and everything whatever is planned for college welfare should be routed through IQAC, so that at the end of the day IQAC have enough documents to back up its creation in the first place. And it's very heartening to know that role of peer team is curtailed now, because and now the grading of the colleges does not solely depend upon whims and fancies of peer team. So that's again a very good thing. And with your kind permission, now I open this topic for discussion. And I ask all the participants to please introduce themselves before asking questions, their names, their designations, and college name. That will do. So please, you can raise your queries. Thank you. Any question, please? Yes, I don't think anybody else better equipped to answer your questions related to NAAC than Professor Sunil Gupta ji, because he's been visiting the entire country in connection with NAAC accreditation. So please, this is the best opportunity you have to ask questions.
Sir, okay.
Yes, please.
So I'm Rajesh from Government College Science, District Kullu. Actually, sir gave us a very detailed description of the whole process of NAAC accreditation. I want to ask a few questions from sir. I think his guidance will be very, very valuable. Our college science has not it has not gone for even the first cycle because it's a relatively new college. And our chief guest, he was suggesting that the IQAC should be constituted in each college. So I want to know whether the college which has not been accredited should also constitute the IQAC in their respective college, number one. And my second question, sir, pointed out under criteria 3.3, that is the research publication, and sir said that only inflicted in listed journals are counted now. I want to know whether this inflicted in listed journals are same as UGC in listed journals. So these are my two queries, sir.
Dr. Rajesh, IQAC in the first cycle colleges, if it is constituted, it will add as an advantage. Yes. Even if you don't have IQAC, they'll not ask you, they'll not see whether you have constituted it 1 year back, 2 years back, or 3 years back. Even if you don't constitute it, it will not have a reverse impact. No adverse impact will be there. But since now you will be preparing for the first cycle, so if you constitute an IQ, they will not see any record of the IQAC. But they'll write in the qualitative, IQAC has been constituted and is functional. So that will give you an added advantage. That is number one. Because for the second, third, and fourth cycle, when we go to the re-accreditation, IQAC total record is being seen. What they have done for the last 5 years. So on that basis, we assess. But in the new colleges, even if you don't have, not much difference will be there. But if you constitute it, even now, if say after 6 months you have to go in for accreditation or 1 year, and you constitute it, so there will be a one line in the qualitative matrix, IQAC has been formed. And while the peer team will award certain marks, because no data is to go, quantitative data will not be sent by the institution regarding this. When the peer team will see that IQAC has been formed and is working to some extent, then automatically where they are to give the marks for the qualitative, your marks will be enhanced. If they are to give you, say, 1 mark or 2 mark in that particular, so if IQSC, they say that they have formed for 1 year or 6 months, so they will enhance it from 1 to 2. That is the added advantage. Second is that the research publication. You asked about the research publication. Now, what is there that UGC has issued a list up to 2018. 2018. All papers which were published there, in the other journals also, they were taken into consideration, even when we go in for this promotion of the teachers. But once the list is out, because that list, I think, I remember we recommended it in the UGC that there must be a list for it. After that, if any paper is in other than, because this validation and verification is to be made by the InflibNet. There's in Delhi, there is an institution, you must have seen it, InflibNet. Software is also there for the libraries. Now, there are 2 types of the journals which are there. First category, second category. Along with it, if there is a Scopus Index journal, that is also taken into care, but that are all included in those lists. I am giving you an example of the Himachal Pradesh one college. They submitted, I think, 100, out of which only 10 were accepted. So meaning thereby that instead of submitting a list of 200, 300, in one of the colleges I went just in February this year. Yes, February, when the NAAC visits were opened for 2 months. They submitted a list of 300. It was in their SSR. But the validation time, there only 20 articles were left over there. So, in order to waste your time and energy, it is always better to see to that list which is available on the website of the, all of us know, and match them. 3-4 papers which are doubtful to you that they may be accepted or not, you can add it. But instead of if 20 are to be accepted by them and you are submitting a list of 200, then it means you are wasting your efforts. Because ultimately the credit will be given only to that. They'll raise one inquiry, they'll raise one objection to it, they'll send it to the college, then college again will reply to them, and ultimately thereafter they'll not reply to the college or to the institution. Their system will do everything. So that is my point of saying that try to give, like one point I'll highlight over here. Now you have asked the question. There's one point over here in the, that is of the budget. Budget. Now budget in one of our colleges, that is not a government institution, that is a grant in aid institution of the state. They called me that, sir, 2 years back we filled this like this, and they gave us 0 in this, in that. But that was a question quantitative, because that was to be assessed by them. They raised one query to them, and then again they submitted the same data, and they gave 0 in that. Now we are to understand what is budget. Regular thing which comes from the government to an institution, that is budget, which includes, because there they ask excluding salary. Now what they did, that was since a grant in aid college, so only salary was coming from the government. The other things which were to be, because they ask for the budget which has been kept for enhancement of physical facilities, enhancement of your IT facilities. So we are to be pinpoint over there. If in the budget there is nothing like that, so they will not consider it. So while forming, even if your budget is from the government, in an institution, whatever are the heads, broader heads are there, you can pass in your meeting of the college that out of this we will spend like this. You say 20,000 is given to you for certain purpose. Now out of 20,000, over broader outline is for this purpose. Under that there are sub-heads which government never gives. So the departmental, like in the universities, departmental council, like in your college, your staff council, or even IQAC if there is any, they can pinpoint that out of this, we will use this much for enhancement of this much for enhancement of this. And that document, if it is submitted in the signatures of the principals and a copy of that is being submitted to them, that will get you marks. That is the important thing, how to go in for it. Since we, due to Corona, we couldn't go. Otherwise, now after Corona, once the Corona is over, we are trying to go offline also, so that practically we can show to the colleges, because we have seen in our colleges that they are unable to fill up certain items which are of utmost importance.
Sir, one thing more, we are functioning from the government school building. Our college does not have its own building. So will this lack of infrastructure will have any impact on our accreditation process?
No, question is how much area you are having and how much students are there, how many courses are there. If suppose I went to I give you one example, Gujarat. That was a government institution last year, I think, before 20. So they were running their college in 4 rooms. And their number of students was, I think, 400 or 500. I asked the principal that why you entered into this process. They were non-accredited. What to talk of C grade, they got non-accredited. So if that building area which has been given to you is sufficient for running, if suppose you are running BA, BSc or BA, BCom, how many classes are there? How many students are there? Whether the classrooms are sufficient to take the classes, whether you have built up certain infrastructure over there, because IT is also required in this system. So if you feel it will be a hindrance only if you are given with 4 rooms, having 8 classes, so ultimately your IIQA will be rejected. What to talk of the here this impact on the grading? So you are to see how many students are there, how many rooms are there, whether they are sufficient to, you have to justify only that this infrastructure is sufficient to run these classes. If you have, otherwise it will not impact. If suppose in the school you are given half of the building, how much is the size of the building, you are well aware of that. So if it is sufficient for you, you can proceed further. There's nothing written that you should have your own building. Sometimes people say that we don't have own building. The only thing is whether that premises is able to give all facilities to the students or not.
Okay.
If you have made a huge building and number of students are only 400 or 400 students. So that will not give any added advantage to them. Because we are only concerned, or the system is only concerned with the sufficient infrastructure for running the programs which are there in an higher educational institution.
Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot.
Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, sir. I am Ritu Jaswal, Department of English, Associate Professor, Government College, Daulatpur, Chowk, from the host college. Sir, we are really blessed to have a live session with you, and it was really very informative. So my question is, that is student satisfaction survey. So kindly elaborate on it.
Basically, in this survey, normally, whether your students are having a good reputation of your institution or not, that is seen. Whether they are satisfied with the teaching faculty, with the curriculum, or with the facilities which you are providing in an institution, like library, like IT facilities, like your student participation in sports, culture, and whether you are giving them the opportunity to be a part of some competition, means extra coaching or certain classes you are running over there. These types of the questions are included in the questionnaire. There's one questionnaire developed by the NAAC which has 20 questions of objective type and one question is of descriptive type. That NAAC will supply, and this includes every information. You are not to do anything. You are only to inculcate certain instinct into the students. Whether you are talking to them online or you are talking to them offline when the pandemic is over, our students must be aware of it, that if they don't
There is some technical issue, it appears, so please bear with us. It will take few seconds to get it right. Thank you.
Are you able to hear me now?
Yeah, now it's okay, sir.
No, actually some problem was in the, this
fine.
is the basic problem with the ICT. Now, this is the survey is normally to have a feedback of our students. You are not to do anything, you are only to tell them, you are to put in their brain that if you don't respond to that survey, number one, requisite number doesn't respond to that, then you will be getting 0 out of 60. Nothing will be given to you. That will not be taken for evaluation. Number one. Then what facilities you are giving to the students in the terms of teaching, in terms of ICT, in terms of library, in terms of internet connectivity, sports, culture, everything is included in that questionnaire. Adequate facilities. Their objective type questionnaire is like this on the certain scales. Whether you are satisfied, dissatisfied, or excellent facilities means that is a scale being prepared by them, and that is only with the NAAC. NAAC will send it directly to the student. They will mail to the student the list which you will be giving. They will mail to all, and after that, within 30 days, maximum period is 30 days. By the time your validation, data validation and verification, which is called as DVV process, will take place, by the time, if number of requisite students do not reply, and requisite students have been defined as 10% of the total enrollment or 100. So means if your number of students are more than 1000, then 10% will come as 100. If they are less than 1000, say 800, then only 80. And the crucial thing here is, if suppose 100 are required to respond and 99 responds, then it will not be taken into consideration. If more than 100 responds, that will be taken into consideration. So we are to be very particular. Our students must understand it, that it is of utmost importance, student satisfaction survey, and this has been added. You being a teacher of the government colleges, you must be knowing that for your API also, for your promotions also, this student participation move was there by the UGC, that 5 marks or 10 marks are to be there, but due to certain opposition by the teachers, that has been dropped out. Now this has come to the survey, so that if they respond to it properly, if teachers are teaching regularly, so they'll write. If some teacher is not coming to the college during classes, he is proceeding on leave, some conference or some other thing, so then they'll write like that. But you will get the marks for that, maybe 1, 2, 3, 4. But if they don't respond, then 0. And 0 here has a impact on the overall grade. So when now onwards, because Daulatpur College is to go in for re-accreditation, so you are to aware your students. This survey was not there previously. It has come just in 2018 when the total process has been changed. So train your students, or instinct must be there of a student, because we also get certain forms for the survey. I am a reviewer of the NIRF also, in their panel also. So sometimes we don't respond to it. Then they send a reminder to us. Then ultimately we sit on our laptop and reply to their. So here, no reminder, nothing. Once they get the mail, after that they'll count the days, and thereafter, even if they reply, that will not be taken into consideration, because then they'll close up their responses. So that is very important.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. But here in the manuals, one question is there of mine. That is, they have told to design, institution may design its own questionnaire. But on the other side, जैसे आपने बताया कि वो खुद से conduct करेंगे survey. But here they have mentioned results and details need to be provided as a web link. So that is why we have.
That is another thing. Results and links are to be provided, that you are to provide. That is the outcome. That questionnaire is by the NAAC. basically why this result, other links are to be given over there, so that because this is now learning outcomes, I was saying. Program outcomes and learning outcomes. There is one question over there when you see to it. Program outcome and course outcome. There's one question over there. The student satisfaction survey is entirely different. You will be going for, they will be seeing the results, etc. for outcome. But the students who will be responding to their survey, that will be taken care of. Because then their questionnaire will be, if say 100 people have responded to it, 21 questions I am saying to you, 20 questions are there and one question objective and one subjective. That will be put into a system. It will be analyzed, all will be analyzed, like I was telling you, feedback system. You have to analyze it properly. Analysis is done there, and thereafter the system itself will tell whether you will get 0, you will get 1, you will get 2, you will get 3, or you will get 4. But if the requisite number is less, then no question of doing anything. Even if you, even 99 people have responded, requirement is of 100, so that will not be taken into consideration for your this evaluation.
Sir, I think this question crops up because there is some erroneous information written in the manual that institutions may design its own questionnaire, but when questionnaire,
you can design your own questionnaire for your purposes. This is for your purposes.
But we don't have to give that feedback on the basis of that questionnaire to the NAAC.
That will be in the feedback analysis.
Okay, but
student satisfaction survey.
That has nothing to do with student satisfaction survey. It's another thing.
No, nothing.
Okay.
They themselves will send a survey document.
That comes
questionnaire will be sent by them.
Okay.
Student satisfaction survey questionnaire will be sent by them.
Sent by the.
They have designed it. With, I am telling you, 20 questions of objective type nature, and one question is of descriptive nature. You are only to submit list to them.
Okay, right, sir. Right.
Normally, in the manual, it is a written guidelines that you will be submitting the list of all students.
IDs and phone numbers. With their email IDs and phone numbers.
Yes. On email, they will send it.
Okay. Right.
NIRF, I am telling you, we also get the questionnaires from the NIRF. When institutes, they apply for their ranking, NIRF ranking, then ultimately they give it on our mails.
Okay.
Since we are going for the NAAC accreditation to different institutions, so they ask us, you select out of that 10 institutes and give your ranking to those institutes based on our rank, this accreditation of those institutes, whether we rank them at what place, and different types of they have designed their own questionnaire. NIRF has also designed their own questionnaire for this ranking from the experts. Just today on yesterday only their result has been declared, NIRF ranking.
May I ask other participating colleges to please pitch in and raise their queries? Because
yes. Anyone who is there with us now, most of the people have left, I think, because it is 2 o'clock. But if anyone is having some query, he can ask. Not only Daulatpur Chowk, anyone.
Anyone. Yes. Please better. No more query. So now I request Principal of the host college, Dr. R.K. Sharma ji, to please to please become live with the audience for vote of thanks. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Dr. Chandan. Thank you very much, Dr. Gupta. With you have shared with us very valuable and practical information which can make a better ground for every college to start its NAAC accreditation process. It is very helpful, and you have given every criteria-wise information. I'm also thankful to the other participating colleges, their principals and staff. I like to mention the name of these colleges. These colleges were Government College Dhaneta, Government College Senj, Government College Thurl, Government College Haroli, Government College Dharampur, District Solan, Government College Kotli, Government College Baldwada, Government College Naina Devi, Government College Nirvan, and Government College Khad. Once again, I thank you all for sharing this valuable information. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, ji. Now I'm leaving.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Friends.
All friends and participants.
Thank you.
Service.
Thank you for joining.
But